Theresa May insists she wants the UK to leave the EU with a deal on the 29th of March. It comes after her chief Brexit negotiator was reportedly overheard appearing to suggest there could be a delay. And today there's a new threat from Tory Brexiteers who say they might not support the government in a vote tomorrow. Also this lunchtime. Police say the deaths of 3 men in their 80s in Exeter are linked. A man's been arrested. Inflation fell to 1.8% last month, its lowest level for 2 years. The Home Secretary tells the BBC he wants a crackdown on social media companies which carry content that fuels knife crime. And new controls on gambling advertising, which uses young celebrities and sports stars in order to protect the under-18s.
And coming up on BBC News, a wake-up call for Solskjaer as United lose their first match since his appointment to Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League.
And it's the French wonder boy who doubles it.
Good afternoon and welcome to the BBC News at 1. Theresa May has insisted she wants the UK to leave the European Union with a deal on the 29th of March. It follows a report that her lead Brexit negotiator was overheard suggesting there could be a significant delay if MPs rejected her deal. Today it also emerged an influential group of Tory backbenchers who support Brexit are threatening not to vote with the government in the Commons tomorrow. Amid reports they fear the government's motion could be used to prevent a no-deal departure from the EU. Our political correspondent Nick Eardley has more.
What is on Theresa May's mind? What will she do if she can't get her plan through Parliament? At the moment, things around Westminster are on hold, and some are worried the government is simply running down the clock.
The Prime Minister must stop playing fast and loose. Businesses are begging for certainty. The economy is already suffering. Prime Minister, you've come to the end of the road.
He talks about certainty for business. He can give business certainty by voting for the deal. That's what gives business certainty.
But could an overheard conversation in this Brussels bar give a hint about strategy? ITV News reports the PM's chief negotiator, Ollie Robbins, said the government might have to seek a significant delay to Brexit Day if it can't get a new deal through Parliament in the next few weeks.
Notwithstanding Brussels barroom chatter, will the Prime Minister rule out a delay of Brexit beyond March the 29th?
It's very clear the government's position is the same. We triggered Article 50. In fact, this House voted to trigger Article 50. That had a 2-year timeline. That ends on the 29th of March. We want to leave with a deal, and that's what we're working for.
Tomorrow, MPs will hold a series of votes. There won't be a new deal on offer, but even endorsing what's already been backed by Parliament isn't easy. Tory Brexiteers might not back the government.
We cannot vote for this as it's currently configured because it rules out no deal and removes our negotiating leverage in Brussels. The Prime Minister, if she went through the lobbies for this tomorrow night, would be voting against the guarantee she's given in the Commons for months. It is madness.
It's a sign of just how fragile the truce in the Conservative Party is. Without the backing of Brexiteers, Theresa May's majority is extremely vulnerable. A defeat tomorrow would only be symbolic, but it would show once again just how volatile Westminster is. So it goes on. Delicate conversations both home and abroad. The Brexit debate is far from over, but leaving day gets ever closer. Nick Eardley, BBC News, Westminster.
Let's speak now to Norman Smith, our assistant political editor, who's in the central lobby of the Houses of Parliament. Norman, just how serious is this threat by that Conservative grouping, the ERG, to the government tomorrow?
It matters, Rita, because Downing Street were just sort of going, phew. They thought they'd got through the threat of a major revolt when we vote tomorrow on Mrs May's Brexit plans, that had been diffused and put off after Mrs May said, relax everyone, we'll have another vote at the end of the month. Now, her Brexiteers are on the warpath because they fear Mrs May is signalling that she's ruling out no deal. Not acceptable, they say. And why this matters is if Mrs May is defeated, and it is quite possible then she would be back on the canvas again, having just got up off it and beginning to seem to make some headway. More than that, it would suggest the sort of truce between the Brexiteers and Mrs May, which she managed to cobble together after she said to them, don't worry, I'll go back to Brussels, see if I can renegotiate the backstop. That would appear to have fallen apart. And it matters too, because in Brussels they will be watching, and if they see Mrs May being defeated again, well, they'll think there's just no point giving Mrs May any concessions, because she cannot command a majority in the House of Commons to get any deal through. So trouble ahead. Business as usual with Brexit.
OK. Norman, thank you. Norman Smith there. Well, one of the UK's leading business groups says that firms are in danger of being hung out to dry by the government because of the continued uncertainty over a possible no-deal Brexit. The British Chambers of Commerce says companies have been left in the dark. Well, our business editor Simon Jack is here with me now. So, Simon, the BCC says there are 20 critical questions that remain unanswered.
Yeah, it's not unusual to hear these warnings from business about the perils of a no-deal Brexit, but this is a slightly different approach. The British Chambers of Commerce have come up with, as you say, a list of 20 questions. I'll give you a flavour of them. What tariffs will my company need to pay when importing goods to the UK from the EU? Will there be inspections at the UK-EU border? Where will they take place? How long will they take? Which regulator will I be using? Will my business have to pay mobile roaming charges, for example, very specific ones? All of which I think, you know, businesses both big and small would say are pretty fundamental to planning how they're going to get by. Now, we've seen, as I say, we've seen these warnings before, but there is an amounting number of facts about how this is affecting businesses. We had Ford, for example, overnight refusing to deny that they said in a call to the Prime Minister that they were considering moving production and jobs out of the UK. We saw a big fall in business investment in the fourth quarter of 2018. So the approach of the BCC may be slightly different in these pointed, practical questions, but the message is the same. They say that this political brinksmanship that Norman was just talking about is having a very toxic effect on business investment. OK, Simon, thank you. Police are investigating 3 murders of men in their 80s in Exeter, which are believed to be linked. A 27-year-old has been arrested in connection with the deaths. Our correspondent Hamish Marshall has been at the headquarters of Devon and Cornwall Police in Exeter, where senior officers have described the deaths as unprecedented.
Well, this is one of 2 properties in Exeter where police have been here this morning along with forensic officers after they've launched a double murder inquiry. It was 2 brothers who were in their mid-80s who lived here. Locals have said that they pretty much kept themselves to themselves, although one of them was a regular at the local shop where he used to go and get his newspaper each morning. He was last seen there on Sunday. His brother used to be seen going down to the local supermarket where he'd be getting food for his dog. Now, they were found yesterday lunchtime. The alarm was raised when the gates to this property were actually open, which I'm told is very unusual. They were normally always kept closed. And a couple of miles away, 24 hours earlier, near St David's Station in Exeter, an 80-year-old man was found dead in a property there. He was last seen sometime around last Friday, so officers don't know exactly when he died. This lunchtime, they've said they are linking the 2 inquiries and that they have arrested a 27-year-old man on suspicion of murder. He's been questioned here in Exeter.
Hamish Marshall there. A jury has been hearing evidence in the trial of a 16-year-old boy accused of raping and murdering a young schoolgirl on the Isle of Bute last year. The body of 6-year-old Alicia McPhail was found in woodland last July. The accused, who can't be named for legal reasons, denies the charges and has lodged a special defence. He blames the death on the girlfriend of Alicia's father. Well, our correspondent Lorna Gordon is outside Glasgow's High Court for us now. And Lorna, just tell us more of what happened in court this morning.
Well, yes, Robert McPhail's partner, Tony McLachlan, who's 18 and was giving evidence from behind a screen, told the court this morning that she loved Alicia McPhail to pieces. She said the last time she saw the 6-year-old alive, she'd gone into her room to turn off a DVD playing Peppa Pig, and that the little girl was sleeping facing the wall, hair all behind her. She said when they discovered that Alicia was missing the next morning and started searching for her, that she couldn't believe anything bad had happened.